And thanks again for joining this edition of Ideas Exchange. We'll bring this to you on Wednesdays from 8 to 9 p.m. Many of you will be wondering what is our topic today if you have not seen it on social media. We'll be talking about two things, the e-levy and the State of the Nation address. The e-levy has become a controversy that appears to be knocking the heads of Ghanaians and our members of parliament. But for some funny reasons, the executive and the judiciary have been tagged along. And I'll try to explain in my introduction why it appears so. You would know by now that yesterday there was a lot of conversation about the e-levy, whether it has been passed, whether the action was legitimate, and why the three members on the minority side had to go back to the Supreme Court. The decision to go there, for the understanding we've gathered so far, is because of the Supreme Court's its own ruling, which appeared to have waded into this controversy on the floor of Parliament. So you remember that somewhere last week, there were two attempts to pass a loan on the floor of Parliament. And the minority side referred to the Supreme Court ruling, which extended into the issue about quorum, Article 141 and so on and so forth, some add B and so on. And today, as we speak, an incident happened in Parliament. The minority walked out. Many people are questioning, why would they walk out when the impression had always been created that with 137 MPs and 137 on the other side, if there's a decision on the floor of Parliament and there is a tie, the group which is against the motion would have won. And so many people are wondering why the minority would have taken such a decision. But the fact is, do we even know how many people were in Parliament, either before the minority walked out or when the majority side was deciding on the controversial e-levy? And some have even asked that, so when this issue goes back to the Supreme Court, what are the guarantees? And would that be a strategy that is putting the Supreme Court or the Judiciary, or to somebody would say by extension, the seven who sat on that controversial case that Abdullahi sent to the Supreme Court, would be testing their own ruling and how they were going to interpret it? Tonight, I have a guest who is a member of Parliament. He's been in Parliament twice, representing two constituencies. One is Nantong. That was as far back as 2012, when he stood on that ticket and won convincingly. And then in 2016, he came back again, this time at a different constituency, but he would explain what this means to us, especially if you don't know much about Nantong, and this time Tamale Central. He's outspoken, a former Deputy Minister of Trade, a former Deputy Coordinator in charge of National Youth and Employment Agency. Is it NYEA? He will tell us much about that. And of course, he's also one young man who has been very, very vocal, blunt, and speaks his mind. Tonight, I'm going to engage him, and I'll also try to push him to the world to speak to your heart, especially if you are an ordinary Ghanaian and you are one of those who feel that the minority, especially if you don't understand the decisions and why they are adopting the strategy today, may have dampened your spirit. He's called Murtala Mohammed. He's also a professionally trained teacher. And when I digged into his profile, I got to know that he is a development planning expert. He has a master's degree in development planning and international relations from two universities, University of Ghana and the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. And I told you much about his background, and if you care to know, he's also been a former Minister for Information under the John Mahama administration. Murtala, you are welcome.
Thank you, Eric.
Long, short profile. How has it been?
Among them, the most important thing is that I'm a trained teacher.
Good. So you can weather the storm.
My first degree was actually in psychology.
Psychology, okay. Much, yes. Which is an interesting subject. Yes, I'm also a trained teacher, if you care to know. Yes.
Yes, once a teacher.
Always a teacher. But we will have to go back. Maybe you have to set up a private school and then we'll be teaching there.
Oh, yeah. I tell my friends that nothing pleases me than teaching. As a matter of fact, I really would want to teach. after politics. I mean, my final year at the political science department doing my PhD.
Okay.
Inshallah, I should finish this year. Maybe after politics,
pray.
then I'll move back
to
Legon
Dr.
to teach.
Murtala Mohammed in the making. But there was so much confusion yesterday.
Yeah.
And at a point, people said, we want to hear the minority defending themselves.
Yeah.
It will be one part of our conversation, the e-levy, the controversies, what appears to be the hung expectation of majority of Ghanaians who are looking up to the minority side to fight a cause if that is legitimate. And then we have the majority side also fighting their cause in the interest of what government may want to do. And then, of course, we also look at the State of the Nation address. The president spoke, and he appears, or he sounded like, but for Ukraine or COVID, they were on course. And even in spite of all these, they are still on course. So many promises in there. And he also made some bold statements. We'll listen to the president on these. But let's walk briefly into your constituency.
Nantong or Tamale?
We are going to Tamale Central, but tell us, Nantong, Tamale Central, are there any connections?
Well, legally, you can contest for a parliamentary elections or any parliamentary seat if you are born and bred in that constituency, or if you can also trace your lineage, either your father or your mother or both parents coming from that particular constituency, or if you have lived in that constituency for at least 5 to 10 years. So I tell people that I can contest in about 5 or 6 constituencies. I can contest in Nantong, I can contest in Savulgu, because part of me is from Diali. Even in Kumbungu, part of me, I can contest in Kumbungu. I can contest in Sanargu, I can contest in Tolang, I can contest in Daboya. And so I have about 6 constituencies that I can contest in. People have forgotten, or perhaps some are not aware, that I contested for the Tamale Central NDC parliamentary primaries 2 times before. In 2006, when Professor Waisene, cross-carpeted from NDC to NPP, and there was a by-elections. Then I was the Secretary General of the All Africa Students Union, and I was doing my second degree at KNUST. I was one of the 9 aspirants who contested. I contested with my senior brother, Honorable Inus Afusene, and I was the youngest among the nine aspirants. And I came,
and you lost?
Yes, I came third, actually. I came third. And in 2008, I contested Honorable Inusa again for the parliamentary primaries, and some shenanigans happened. As a matter of fact, they had to withhold that of Tamale Central and conducted the elections in all the constituencies.
So the fear delegate syndrome emerged.
What the party did, I wasn't happy, but from hindsight, when I said today, I think that it was the best decision. Honorable Inusa had gone to Parliament through by-elections. And he's a material without any doubt. The party didn't. So
the party protected him
virtually. That was the reason why I went in.
Now let's walk into Tamale Central. How is it like? Tamale Central is just like the pivot around which we want to see Tamale blossom. How is it like?
I was born and bred in Tamale, and I have lived my life throughout in Tamale. Even when I was the MP for Nantong constituency, I was still living in Tamale Central. When Honorable Yunus Afuseni decided that he wasn't contesting again, I had to. Several people called me to come. I did some consultation. Notable among them was His Excellency President Mahama and some godfathers, particularly not even in politics. So I consulted them, and the advice was that I needed to come and contest. So I contested the primaries. We were 3. Myself and 2 of my brothers. One was the former mayor for Tamale, and the other one who is a banker. Fortunately, Allah in his own wisdom, I won, and I won resoundingly. So, and became the MP. Tamale Central is a very complex constituency. And I say so because, unlike Nantong, which was rural, Tamale Central is a city constituency. And that has almost everybody within the Tamale metropolis, get their inspirations from Tamale Central. All the known chief palaces, a lot of chief palaces within Tamale Metropolitan Assembly and Tamale Central. Almost all the big mosques you can think of in Tamale are within the youth group, good, bad, everybody's in Tamale Central. And it is one of the most elitist constituencies in Ghana. To that extent, managing such a constituency, needs a lot of dexterity, a lot of care, and some level of finesse if you want to do that. So it's a very complex
I wish we had much time to talk about your constituency, because the focus of our conversation will be the two major issues trending. But you should be proud to have an interchange in your constituency.
It is not an interchange, and the president peddled a falsehood. If I want to put it mildly, he lied today, and I was flabbergasted. The least I expected from the president was to have presented what the facts are. That is a flyover. I mean, we have an understanding of what constitutes an interchange, the extent to which a president, the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces...
Are you not trivializing the subject by way of focusing on interchange rather than flyover, and not the highway that is going to reduce so much traffic? Because I know Tamale Central very well. If I come here, and that would be very beneficial to the people.
If I come here and say that I know Eric works with Metro TV, the fact that you have ever worked with Metro TV and you are no longer working with Metro TV, it doesn't make it fair for me to say that you work with Metro TV. Or I come and say that Eric works with, Joy FM or multimedia. And then the argument is that whether...
I was there some time ago,
exactly,
and not today.
It's not a case of whether Jonah swallowed the fish or the fish swallowed Jonah. There was a swallow. Call it as it is. When you tell someone who hasn't seen that there is an interchange in Tamale, what will come to the mind of the person will not be what is provided in Tamale.
Okay, so I get the drift. Yes. Now, we are now walking into what you want to hear. Why will the minority in Parliament walk away from proceedings when, of course, many people anticipated that they will use their numbers and fight a cause for your interest if you were disappointed yesterday? Again, 3 key members on the minority side have been to court. I am talking about Mahama Yerega for Boku Central, Okujeto Ablakwa Samuel for North Tong, and the minority leader Harun Idrisu. They were in court yesterday. Mutala will be telling us much about what went into that strategy. And the question people have been asking is, are they expecting anything different, or they are putting the Supreme Court to test, and if it will change anything at all? Before we walk into it, listen to Harun Idrisu briefly.
When you know you have such business and you subject a member, a dedicated elected member of Parliament, same day, what did you expect us to do? Therefore, if you are not surprised, we will be surprised, because you yourself should be surprised that they brought it under the circumstance. For any decision in Parliament, including subjecting a bill to consideration stage, including amendment, including matters of procedure, and more importantly, the third reading of bill, you will require one half of members of Parliament present. When we took a decision with 137, you know what they said, that we could not, so they can.
So I'm sure you know much about the position of the minority as far as that press conference is concerned. Now, Mutala, for many who may not have walked the path you took yesterday, can you help us to walk into your minds?
Absolutely. The conduct of business in Parliament is guided by 3 very important instruments. And I call them instruments for the purposes of the understanding of many of your viewing public. We do business in Parliament using one, the Constitution of the Republic, and in this case, the 1992 Constitution. The second one is the standing orders of Parliament. And the third one is conventions or traditions of Parliament. Among these 3 instruments, what is important are the first 2, the Constitution and the standing orders of Parliament. And between these 2, the Constitution is supreme. As a matter of fact, if you look at the standing orders are virtually generated from the Constitution. And it is very clear in the 1992 Constitution that there can't be any law or any constitution or provisions in any constitution that will contravene any provision in the 1992 Constitution. It is the mother law. So this are the first statement. This is the first statement I want to make. So whatever we do in Parliament should conform with what is in the Constitution or the standing orders of Parliament, or except that we have some traditions, and those traditions and conventions are determined by any speaker at any point in time, which is agreeable by members of parliament of both sides. So if you look at Article 104 of the 1992 Constitution, it says, among others, that for a decision to be taken in parliament, you must have half of members of parliament in voting. That is half of members of parliament. And if you come and look at Standing Orders 1091, in fact, that constitutional provision is Article 1041, and the Standing Order 1091 also says really the same thing. So that is the second statement I want to make. Now, if you look at the composition of parliament today, we are made up of 275 members of parliament. Now, there are two quorums. Article 102 talks about quorum to commence business, and Article 104 talks about quorum to take a decision. Now, quorum to commence business, you need just 1/3. So if you look at 275 members of parliament, you need about 92 or 93 members to constitute a quorum to commence business. The fact that you have a quorum to commence business doesn't mean that you can use the same quorum, to take decision. You may have a quorum to commence business, 92, but if you do not reach the quorum, of 1/2 of parliament, that is 138, you can't take a decision. So let's get these two things very clear. Now, what happened in parliament? We knew that we had all our 137 members of parliament present. Out of that, interestingly, the judiciary put 2 cases against the Asin MP on the same day in 2 different courts, one in Takoradi and one in Accra. So for the purposes of he not being contemptuous of the court, that was the reason why he could not have entered into the chamber. So, and we know that if you take him out, instead of 137 members of parliament, we were reduced to 136 members of parliament. We also know for a fact that Honorable Adjo Asafo was not in parliament because he is absent without permission, which is captured on the vote and proceedings of yesterday, which we had today. In fact, I forgot I would have brought the copy.
I've seen some flying, and I will be speaking to that.
Fantastic. So Adjo Asafo wasn't there. And if you take the MPP, there are 137, including the independent member of parliament, that is the second deputy speaker, who agrees to sit and in voting with them. It doesn't make him a member of the NPP in parliament. He is still an independent member of parliament who agrees to sit and in voting with the NPP. On the basis of that, the number of the NPP is no longer 137. Their number is 138. So if you take Adjo Asafo out, the NPP's number will be reduced to 137. And our number 137, take away the Asin North MP, our number was reduced to 136. Either of these two, we certainly, wouldn't constitute, the number that would justify for a quorum to take a decision. So yesterday, we realized that they also brought the Minister for Chieftaincy Affairs, who unfortunately is not well. He's a very good man. I serve in the same committee with him, the Committee for Trade. They brought him, our understanding, in an ambulance. The ambulance was parked at the main entrance of Parliament.
Did you see him?
Well, that was the...
Because I've seen rumors flying.
No, but there are rumors.
That ambulance was just there for cosmetic reasons. He might not have been in the ambulance, and he may not have even been on the floor.
Eric, that rumors are said by enemies, spread by innocents, and believed by fools. We, as a matter of fact, didn't want to be fools by believing, assuming he was in the ambulance. So if we had risk to engage in the voting and they brought him out.
Was it difficult to check whether he was available either in his office? Well, because if you come to Job 600, it is easy to tell whether that office is occupied.
He didn't. This is a man who was unwell. The information we picked reliably was that he was actually in the ambulance. And for me, that tells you how wicked these people are. They never showed sympathy and empathy. They care less about the safety and the health of that gentleman. What they care is about having the e-levy pass.
Are you not oversimplifying their objective? The objective, government had made it clear. The finance minister, when he spoke to Ghanaians about measures approved by cabinet, was very emphatic, and he sounded very optimistic that he knew that the e-levy was going to be passed. And even days after that, the president also spoke at a function and created the impression that it was going to be passed. The reason why I'm making reference to all this is that there was a time, just weeks by, and the minority kept teasing or pressing on, we are ready, bring the e-levy, let's discuss it, let's move on. So you knew the intention of government or the majority side that they were buying time for the right time to move. And so you should have been ready.
They never got the time. The reason why the call was being made, and maybe perhaps if I could just finish with the question and then I can respond.
Right.
I don't want to truncate the process of thought. So basically, we had 136 because the sitting-off member of parliament was not with us. The MPP, because of the absence of Adjuasafo, they had 137. You know, taking into consideration that the minister
independent candidates.
No, he's with them.
Okay.
I mean, taking into consideration that the minister for chieftaincy was also in the ambulance. So they had 137, we had 136. If we were to remain in the house to vote, we would have lost the vote. Because if we were to vote, because what we, and the understanding we got, and in fact, some claim that they saw him. He was actually in the ambulance. They were waiting. Anytime we were going to take the vote, then they would just put him on a stretcher, bring him in. The voting is not to go and vote, they will count. Because that is how the voting was supposed to be done. It was a voice vote.
But you could also have done head count.
No, if they do voice vote and someone disagrees, then you call for division. So even if they do voice vote, they could decide that won't bring him in. Until the voice vote, they call for a division. When they are going to count, they just bring him in and they count him. And once he's conscious, it's not that he has lost his sanity or his, you know, it's just that he's not well.
Okay.
So nothing bars him from coming to parliament. So they had 137. We had 136. If we were going to sit to vote, we were going to lose the 10. Now, sitting to vote, one would have lost, and also would have given them the legitimacy. Because if you sit and you vote against it, you didn't walk out. So we said the best bid. And mind you, this was not a decision taken by leadership of minority alone, because I have listened to a lot of people as if the leadership just took a decision. The party was consulted. The party was being in the know. As a matter of fact, my position was that let's vote. But when the legal advisors of the party and even in parliament, they said, look, that would be a risky thing to do. They have 137. We know that our sitting-off MP is not there. We have 136.
That doesn't mean he was not within the presence.
No, he couldn't have entered, because if he had entered because of the Supreme Court ruling, it would have been a serious case against him. So we said, look, he could not come into the chamber. So we're reduced to 136. The MPP had 137.
But I've picked information suggesting that even at the time you were working out, some of your members.
No, that's not true. I'll come to that because I just want people to get it very clear. So we had 136 because of the exclusion of the sitting-off MP, and they had 137. So, and it is simple majority. If we sat and voted, they would have won. So we decided that let's walk out, so that we would deny them the opportunity to form a quorum. Because 137 cannot form a quorum. You need 138 to form a quorum. So we walking out, and because of the absence of Adjuasafo, their number was reduced to 137, even with the Minister for Chieftaincy present. So it means that they could not have taken a decision. That was, and for me, it was the best decision that we needed to have.
So how do you react? And I want to read this, and if my producers will share on the screen, one of your own, who you succeeded. I'm making reference to Inusa Fuseni. And Inusa Fuseni is on record to have said, and I want to read exactly what he has said, that what the minority needed to do was to leave just one person in the chamber to raise an issue of quorum. That would have invoked the jurisdiction of the speaker to rule on whether or not there was a quorum for the decision. How do you respond to this?
The presence of that person, with all due respect, would have given them the opportunity to form a quorum. If assuming that Honorable Haruna Idrisu remained, Honorable Haruna Idrisu would have been helping them to form a quorum.
But Inusa Fuseni is a lawyer, has been an experienced, a former ranking member, and so on and so forth. What would inform?
It doesn't matter. The
reasoning.
The Constitution.
You are suggesting
in fact,
that
the Constitution.
The presence there would have.
Of course, the Constitution is very clear. It is not about being a lawyer, not being a lawyer. Article 104(1), Standard Order 109, and in fact, the Supreme Court ruling in the matter of Justice Abdullahi and the Supreme Court, for you to constitute a quorum, you would have 138. So assuming Honorable Haruna Idrisu had remained, or me, or any other member had remained, at that material moment, we would have been helping them to form a quorum. Mind you, We had closed our debate. In fact, Honorable Haruna Idrisu was the last person to debate. The last person who would have debated would have been Honorable Chairman Sabonsu. And he decided that he wasn't going to debate. And therefore, the speaker had no option. If you look at the standing orders, the moment the debate is closed, you have no option than to put the question. So assuming that Honorable Haruna Idrisu, after closing the debate, and Chair said, I don't want to debate, Mr. Speaker, put the question. And then someone raises a question of quorum. They would have counted the MPP 137 and count Honorable Haruna Idrisu. Or the member who remained, they won't say because you are in opposition, we won't count you. That member would have been counted. The 138 is talking about members of parliament in parliament present. So at the time when the decision was about to take.
How does this play out? And I'm speaking the minds of as many who are still in doubt.
Yeah.
The speaker sat and supervised all this.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
The speaker is not above the laws of Ghana. The president is not above the laws of Ghana. As a matter of fact, when we took a decision, remember when the MPP walked out, and then we took a decision, and the speaker said he wanted to count us. When he counted, we were 137. The MPP came back and said that decision was void because we did not constitute a quorum. Our argument was that they were there when we moved the motion, but they said they walked out. And then they came back surreptitiously, got the 138. Some people raised questions as to whether the woman who was there purportedly being Adjua was indeed Adjua. And the argument was that they had 138. So with all their number they formed, they constituted a quorum. In our case, we could not have because of that argument. So I'm saying that the best decision at that time was what we did. And I'll tell you, to be very honest and ask any of my colleagues, my position was that we should remain and vote. But when this was explained to me, I realized that it never made any sense. But let me say this. The General Secretary of the party today said on Joy FM that they supported the decision that was taken by the minority by walking out. The party was in the known. That decision was not a decision that was taken by Honorable Haruna Idrisu and Honorable Mutaka. Everybody agrees with that decision. Even those of us who were initially saying that we should remain and vote, when they explained that to us and as rational beings, it never made any sense.
How do you respond
to participate in the vote?
The rumor going around that some people may have been bribed, and they took money, and that is why this is happening, and all what we are observing is just cosmetic.
Well, how could people be bribed? If anybody had taken money, that person would have feigned illness and refused to come to Parliament. And I think that if you hate somebody, even when the person is bathing water, you say the person is giving you dust. I mean, if you don't have any basis, if anybody has any reason, perhaps those people have evidences that we do not know, I think that I will urge anybody who has any evidence that anybody took bribe to bring it forward. Eric, me Mutala, I'm not corrupt. I have never been, and I will never be in this country. If anybody has any evidence, me, throughout my work at NYEP and as a deputy minister, even as a student leader, that Mutala has ever taken bribe or he has ever been influenced by money, come out. And I'm saying it on national television. And this can be said by almost all our colleagues. And I think that this rumor, if you don't have any evidence, that's why I started by saying that the rumors are said by enemies, spread by innocents, and believed by fools. I can create a story about you. And I'll tell you a story. Yesterday, I had a program on TV3. And the program started by 7, was supposed to end at 8. And I had another program on Pan-Africa TV. So I was supposed to finish this one 8. Perhaps by the time I drive to Pan-Africa, I started around 8:10, 8:15. Unfortunately, we stayed at TV3, but I left TV3 around 8:30. I got to Pan-Africa, so we started late, around 9:30, 9:40. Instead of finishing at 10 o'clock, it was extended. So when Parliament was seated and they didn't see me, 2 of my colleagues called me and said, they saw on social media that I wasn't in the chamber. Exactly, that's what people said, because they couldn't see me at that time.
But the fact is...
So I'm saying that...
It's good that you are clarifying the issue, but the fact is, it is possible some of your own members or ordinary Ghanaians will be angry at this stage. What can change the narrative?
The best decision that we would have taken. Show me any other decision that is better than what we did. They were expecting us to remain and vote with 136, and MPP having 137, so that we vote and then the what's the name, e-levy is passed. Is that what they were expecting us to do? So we should remain with 136. Let me inform them, the Asen North MP was not there. And it wasn't that he didn't want to be there. As a matter of fact, he was at the precinct of Parliament. He couldn't have entered there. So he wasn't there. Our number was reduced to 136.
So in your opinion, the whole thing was carefully calculated for the timing of his presence either in Cape Coast or in Accra to,
yes, it was.
Coincide with what happened yesterday.
Of course it was. And I will say this. I mean, I know that the leadership may not be happy. We had caucus. The leadership, the entire leadership, Honorable Haruna, Honorable Aveji, Honorable Mutaka, Honorable Ahmed, Honorable Duya, they made it very clear their position was that we should vote. But these were astute lawyers among us and the party leadership who felt that sitting to vote was the most dangerous decision to take. So they were pressed upon that we should walk out. So it was not a decision that was taken. And in fact, you listen to the General Secretary today. The General Secretary himself stated that they supported the decision to walk out. Okay, now, so walking out means that you are not voting for that particular motion.
I have listened to the majority leader, Oseche Mensah Bonsu. And of course, the finance minister is also suggesting that by May, the e-levy would have taken effect, which means that it's very optimistic. And the optimism, in spite of the injunction that is stopping the president from giving his assent pending the Supreme Court ruling, may have been influenced by what I'll share for the comments that Oseche Mensah Bonsu
even Gabi, what Gabi tweeted, you know, they know the information they have and the kinds of discussion they had with the judiciary. And when President Mahama said the judiciary was corrupt, I mean, who doesn't know in this country that the judiciary is corrupt?
I'm making the reason is that I will come back to you, and maybe in your response you can address some of those concerns, and let's see how we can interrogate it. Now, this is what Oseche Mensah Bonsu, in summary, has said. He says that we had a quorum to pass e-levy. Majority leader insisted. Addressing the parliamentary press corps shortly after proceedings yesterday, he emphasized that the issue of quorum did not arise. We met, and I'm quoting, we met all constitutional requirements or the threshold to take a decision. As soon as practicable, we expect the president to give his assent, and I'm paraphrasing.
Eric, take the votes and proceedings.
Technicalities, legal, gymnastics, and so on.
For both technicalities and legal, they don't have a case. Take the votes and proceedings of yesterday, which were given today. The vote.
Have you seen it?
Yes, I have. The vote and proceedings is their official records. It contains the official records of participants, members of parliament who were in parliament. As a matter of fact, you don't sign the attendance sheet except when you are in the chamber. The Minister for Chieftaincy Affairs was not in the chamber. If you check in the vote proceedings, he signed. Who signed for him? Was it taken to the ambulance for him to sign? Is that
if it happened, what does it mean?
Is that the tradition? No, you signed it in chamber. Everybody.
So if somebody didn't sign it in the chamber, what can Parliament do?
You raise questions of even procedure. You raise questions of procedure. And in any case, in the vote and proceedings of yesterday, which were presented with today, indicates clearly Adwoa Safo was absent. So they had 137. So if you have Chairman Sabunsu, who is saying that they met the constitutional requirement, Article 1041 says that you need half, that is 138 to constitute a quorum. Standing Order 1091 also says that you need 138 by this number to form a quorum. The Supreme Court, in their ruling, in the matter of Justice Abdullah and the Supreme Court, emphasized saying you need to have one half, at least half of members of Parliament present to be able to take a decision. So what is Chairman Sabonsu talking
my introduction,
and from which source?
In the introduction, I made reference to musical chairs. Yeah. And at a point, it was at the court of the majority when you were demanding that they should bring it. Then yesterday, it was basically around you when many people had so much expectation. Social media was monitoring what was happening in Parliament until you walked out. Now the explanation is clear. Now everything is packaged again and is going back to the Supreme Court.
You see,
how optimistic are you that the Supreme Court will stand by its own ruling, taking into consideration the president's comment? And I want us to listen to President Akufo-Addo today at the State of the Nation address when he spoke to the e-levy. I want us to listen to him and let's gauge how optimistic he is, and being a lawyer as a president, whether his mind has been or his attention has been drawn to the issue of quorum, the Supreme Court ruling on the Justice Abdullahi case, the action by the minority and 2 other MPs, and the claims by the minority vis-a-vis that of the majority. Let's listen to Akufo-Addo now.
Mr. Speaker, despite the protracted and sometimes acrimonious nature of proceedings, I'm happy that the House has finally found it possible to pass the e-levy bill. I believe strongly the levy is going to make a significant contribution to revenue mobilization and the management of the national economy. And I want to thank members of the House for making this possible. Mr. Speaker, there are many problems that we have to overcome to get back to where we ought to be. I need your support. No president, no parliament, no government can undertake this task all by themselves.
So President Akufo-Addo wants the support of everybody, and of course any government would want the support of all Ghanaians. Now, you heard the president, sounded very optimistic. You have LLB, so you may understand all these legal things, technicalities, whatever. And most of the time when these controversies arise, you see somebody pointing to how optimistic are you? And if the Supreme Court should let the e-levy passage stay, what will happen?
Well, I will be shocked if the Supreme Court takes any decision, rather than what many people would expect. Regardless the concerns people have about the Supreme Court, it is still the only Supreme Court we have. And I'm very mindful some of the comments I make about the Supreme Court. But that is not to say we can't do a critique of the Supreme Court. There is so much corruption in the judiciary. And it is not just President Mahama making that pronouncement. Justice Georgina Wood, the then Chief Justice, publicly stated that there was corruption within the judiciary. This was the Chief Justice. I see Frank Davis and co attacking her. As a matter of fact, if you take the CDD Afro Barometer, the judiciary is identified as one of the institutions that is profoundly corrupt. Again, if you take Anas Armia Anas's expose, judges were identified to have taken so goats and yam. Goats. No, let me finish on this.
Was yesterday.
I'm coming.
Are you suggesting that?
No, I'm coming. I'm making a
there
point.
There has not been any effort to prune the system.
Eric, I'm making a point. When Anas Armia Anas identified Mbembe and Yam case, the judiciary themselves investigated the allegations that were made by Anas Armia Anas. Some judges were actually prosecuted. Some judges were, in fact, their certificates were taken off and they were barred from being judged.
But it doesn't suggest all of them are such.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Right.
So the fact that the judiciary themselves took steps to ensure that those bad ones among them tells you there is corruption within the judiciary. In this country, an impression is created as if you can't criticize the judiciary.
Are you insinuating that the minority is not very optimistic?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
A straightforward ruling on this?
No, people are saying that because of our position and some of the commentary we have made with regards to...
So it has nothing to do with the case
it has nothing.
Them.
We still think that the case will go to the Supreme Court. And everybody, dependent, and I will state this, the integrity of the Supreme Court to a very large extent will be anchored on the ruling that is given in this matter.
Which is very paramount.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. So,
and I have no reason to doubt the integrity of the judge.
I know such decisions are collective, but let me try and see if you have a response. Should anything go contrary to your expectation, what would you do?
Well, first and foremost, I won't be surprised much because we live in a country where the Supreme Court says that birth certificate is not a proof of nationality, yet a document that you use the birth certificate to procure is more a proof to your nationality than that.
So you are suggesting you won't do anything?
No, I'm saying that, of course, we would ensure that we use the processes. I listened to my good friend Afenyo today, who was suggesting that we should have exhausted, if you like, the proceedings in Parliament. And Honorable Ayarga gave him a befitting response. And that response was that the question for which we are the Supreme Court is about law, the Constitution. It's about a violation of Article 1041.
Not an interpretation.
Yes, not an interpretation. In fact, a violation of that. And the only body under the Constitution and Article 2 is only the Supreme Court that can give an interpretation. So we certainly could not be asking Parliament to do this. There are other avenues we have, which we can explore in Parliament.
All right. So now, before we move on to the next stage, that will actually be after a short break, is a post by Eduji Kojo Tamaklo. And he appeared to have been responding to one of his own colleagues, the former MP for Tamale Central, Inusa Fuseni. And in that post, Eduji Tamaklo writes, Senior Inusa Fuseni, with respect, estoppel is not a legitimate defense in constitutional breaches. You cannot say because no objection was raised means that the constitutional requirement for quorum under Article 1041 was fulfilled. In Tufo versus the AG Chief Justice Apolu voluntarily walked to Parliament for the vetting. It did not make his voluntary decision constitutional, respectfully. And I've seen a lot of comments coming after that. We'll be taking a short break. We have less than 20 minutes left. When we come back, we'll fast-track conversations. I want to hear from him, and perhaps you are also out there, what you make out of the State of the Nation address. But that will be after this break.
Welcome to the Royal Dazzle Event Center. With a lush and well-maintained lawn and garden, you are assured of the best serene and comfortable atmosphere to organize all your family and social events. Live the royal moments here with friends and family. The hosting capacity of 600 to 800 people makes Royal Dazzle the most versatile of places to host weddings, parties, funerals, conferences, concerts, and many more. Create your memories with us. Call us for inquiries on 055-814-8585 or 024-620-2144, or pass by and speak to any of our friendly staff. Locate us at My John, close to Zoom Lion headquarters. Royal Dazzle Event Center, creating memories.
Easter Trawodo, Menso Mediani, XYZ Broadcasting, Eddie Easter Trawodo, Eddie Ababe Boadze, and Yasam Katwa. Easter Way, Yabetre Oman for door, na Oman for Yetro Modo, Ayan Crofua, one more any Ashafo, and Kakani Wonoma Womo in Yankafie, Yetra Womodo, Amayankopo Donoso Aswomoso, Enti Brabeka XYZ Broadcasting Limited for home. Na Easter Friday, 15th April 2022, Yanko Inyankafie, na Yanko Yadoye. Enti Yesho bien cry say, Bibi Bia wo bia.
Say Yesika, Ediane, Anonom dear, Entoma, Entadie, Samena, Empabwa, Yabejino Odoso.
Kitwa biensha, enti e free ne yeko, ubetumi de wachede aba, edani dru a yede akwa kwache. Number now ubetumi de usika sende so. 0597 215419 0597 215419 na mebusem etre dunkron ni chichemu dunson ese ni wo hunu ohiani mobono woye edima nyankopon na nyankopon so ese tuasa nipa no eho ka
Easter Trawodo menso medieni.
Welcome back. This is TV XYZ. The program is Ideas Exchange. Don't forget, Wednesdays 8 to 9 p.m. catch us live. And on some specific days, getting closer to the third week or so around each month, we also make it open for you to share your views. Unfortunately, today, I may not be able to do that, but let's see next week. We'll try to see if we can hear your views. Otherwise, if my producers press on, we'll spend the last 5 minutes to hear what you also have to say. We have less than 15 minutes. The President presented the State of the Nation address. the same very confident, eloquent Nana Akufo-Addo spoke. Along the line, he admits that we have challenges, and he calls or rallies Ghanaians to come on board for us to help his government to solve the issues. He raised hopes about efforts being made in spite of the difficulties. The Agenda 111, for example, he admits that he missed his target, but says that about 80 or so have seen the foundation levels crossed, and so on and so forth.
You see, the least one would expect from a president of a republic, even the president of Kusumukaya, is to at least be candid with the people. For God's sake, he is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and he's supposed to be the #1 citizen. I'm told he likes the praises Nana Akufo-Addo. It was embarrassing. Appearing before Parliament to address the people of this country through Parliament in the matter of the state of the nation, as captured in Article 67 of the Constitution of Ghana, says that you should tell us the state of Ghana. What happened today was not the state of the nation's address. It was the state of promises address. The president failed to tell the people of this country the true state of Ghana. Instead, he was once again making promises.
Now, when you make such generalizations, do you feel comfortable when people say you merely politicize issues to your advantage and not looking at fairness? The president spoke about COVID. He gave details about where we are as far as COVID is concerned. He talked about roads. He says the use of the word unprecedented, and he obviously made a swipe at his predecessors where he talks about the fact that his reference to the road sector and development is something unmatched.
Eric,
and some will say we see roads being constructed.
I was being a bit charitable, but it seems to me that you want me to be very blunt. The president was engaged in palpable lies. You have your minister for roads, just February 2022, who brought to Parliament. Parliament is the house of records, that a total kilometer of roads that this government from 2017 constructed was 4,263.37 kilometers.
And it's captured in the Hansard.
Yes, it's in the Hansard. I'm saying that it's a document. And I tell you, in fact, the Minister for Roads even gave the breakdown. What the minister said was that affected overlay roads was about 1,463, affected overlay construction. And then he talks about graveling and regraveling. That was about 68.50 kilometers. He talks about partial reconstruction, and that was about 955 in that order. All was 4,263.37 kilometers in February 2022. Yet the president came and said that he constructed 10,887. Tell me whether you can have a better description of this than lies. This is a precedent.
Okay.
It tells you how low.
That's what
it tells you how low the presidency of this country has sunk. Not only that. He also said about Commander Sugar Factory, and I expect you journalists to be asking them these questions. The president said that they have completed the Commander Sugar Factory 86%, and that they are going to commission the Commander Sugar Factory. I guess he stated next month. You should find out from them the critique they did with regards to the Commander Sugar Factory. They said that we build a factory without the raw materials. Ask them whether they have done anything in the area of raw materials. And two, what they did at the Commander Sugar Factory, they went and removed the zinc of one of the sheds and painted it. And nothing has been done to it. I asked the Minister for Trade to tell us how much have they spent in it. Nothing. I'm saying that these are one of the few palpable falsehoods that the president presented to the people of this country when he appeared before us. He never told us the true state of the economy. One shocking revelation, the president mentioned corruption once in the entire SONA. Juxtapose that with the 2017 SONA. 2017 SONA and 2017 financial statement. Every single paragraph was pregnant with corruption. Today, when he mentioned SONA, you know what he said? He never told us what he has done with regards to fighting corruption. What he told us was the fact that they will give the necessary resources to the anti-corruption agency. President Nana Addo has epitomized corruption.
Is that not,
and he's corruption making
is it not assuring to listen to a president who may have presented a statement, because sometimes the speech writers will take into consideration the fact that the finance minister has spoken to details about the state of the economy in which we have, and therefore for time, let us limit his presentation to other areas.
So you must lie.
And so in that presentation,
so you must lie.
He makes assurances
so you must lie.
of things to happen.
No, so
and he mentions roads, water sector, and several other areas.
So he must lie. You know, when he was mentioning the 10,885, he said that people have been saying that politicians are making promises. He is stating.
I want us to call for that. Let's watch the president when he made a brief comment about the road sector. Okay, so while we are waiting for that, this is Ideas Exchange, and of course, this Ideas Exchange, and this is TVXYZ. My guest is Murtala Mohammed, MP for Tamale Central, and the conversation has been about the critical issues affecting you and I. The e-levy we have discussed thoroughly from the perspective of the minority, and public concerns about what happened yesterday, and explanations have been given. And we are wrapping up with a State of the Nation address. I want us to listen to Nana Akufo-Addo, what he said about the economy, and if that is not enough to summarize where we are.
Announced by the Minister for Finance are meant to demonstrate that we are aware that we are in difficult times and we are addressing the situation. The belt-tightening measures being set for members of the executive have been elaborated within this context. And I'm hoping that you're going to join us in this undertaking. This government remains alive to its responsibilities to the Ghanaian people. The difficulties of the time notwithstanding, we intend to continue to grow this economy and bring prosperity.
So we have the President Nana Akufo-Addo. My guest is Murtala Mohammed. Murtala, you are debating this almost immediately.
I'm not debating. I'm just saying that.
No, I'm talking about.
The president lied. Unfortunately, he lied. He lied. Joy FM Multimedia, they are friends to this government.
No, I don't think it's fair to say.
These are my words.
We are not enemies of this government.
No, I'm not saying they are enemies.
Yes,
they could be friends to the NDC too, but I'm just making a statement. They themselves, when they did their fact checking, it confirmed the position. The figures that were provided to the people of this country.
It is instructive that if only February, the sector minister, and you say it's captured in the Hansard.
Of course, it's in the Hansard.
It is impossible for 6,000 roads to be constructed within a month.
If you did 4,000 roads,
otherwise somebody was
4,000 for 5 years.
Okay.
Look, Eric, as far as I'm concerned, apart from Nkrumah, take the road from Kintampo to Paga, which included the Tamale town roads, included the Bolga town roads. They were all done by former President Rawlings. Tell me one single road apart from when we had independence and what Nkrumah did that is longer than this road. Tell me. Yet President Nana Addo will come and look into our face and tell, are you surprised? The Minister for Finance, who is still the Minister for Finance because he uses Ofuriata. But for the name of Ofuriata...
You're not fair to him.
No, but for the name of... Look, if you want to get appointment in this government, go and swear affidavit and add Ofuriata to your name. I'm saying that is a fact. I am saying that if this man was not Ofuriata, he wouldn't have been the minister. He looked into our faces and told us that the city is doing well against the dollar this year than it did against the dollar in 2014, 2015. In 2014, the city to the dollar was 3.4, 3.5. It was around 2016 that we had it 3.6, 3.7. Today, as at the time he was speaking, it was past 8. Yet he looked into our faces and told us that, oh, the cedi to the dollar is doing better now. You see, the president...
Was he not comparing the rate at which the cedi is depreciating?
What rate? What rate? It's just that Dr. Baumia who told us. And I just want to apologize on behalf of my senior brother, Dr. Baumia, for the falsehood he peddled to the people of this country And I'm apologizing, one, because he's a northerner, two, because he's a Muslim.
No, but if
that is not who we are. So that people should not misconstrue his palpable falsehood.
Of course, but Murtala, you would agree with me that Dr. Bawumia is not the subject of this conversation.
He is the man, he's the chairman of the economic management team. His comfort is ensured by my taxes, your taxes. If the people of Tamale Central do a critique of me, it's fair. I'm saying that his comfort. He told everybody in this country that they had arrested the cedi, the dollar, locked it, and gave the keys to the IGP. Now the dollar has broken jail. It is a fugitive. And I want to tell the police, the Dampari, he should stop the showmanship and run after the dollar, which has broken jail. And I'm saying, yet they told us that the cedi is doing better now as against what it did in 2014. Now, I know you are not willing for me to make this point, but I'll make that.
I have 3 minutes to wrap up. And because we have 3 minutes to wrap up, I want to look at the last leg of the conversation.
Yeah.
What should we expect Parliament to be like going forward? E-levy, Supreme Court, the posturing of both sides is hanging. The Speaker is back. Of course, when he was on the floor, we saw the authority and how proceedings went. Now, the two sides would have other issues coming in and out. What should I expect?
First and foremost, the people of this country voted us to represent their interests. The opposition to the e-levy was not our personal and individual position. It was a position that resonated with the people we represented. As a matter of fact, Multimedia Group conducted a survey, and over 90% of the people of this country said they were against e-levy. Central University, the university that gave their auditorium to Dr. Bawumia to engage in the voodoo economics he engaged in prior to the 2016 elections, themselves conducted a survey, and over 90% of the people of this country says they're against it. In fact, every single civil society organization in this country spoke against e-levy. Eric, when we had the post-budget review, every year, once budget is presented, they have what we call post-budget workshop. The purpose for the post-budget workshop was for government to collaborate with Parliament to get experts who will come and take you through and explain to you the reasons behind the policy of government as captured in the policy statement presented in Parliament for and on behalf of the government and the President by the Minister for Finance. Every single expert who came, some of them professors from University of Ghana, University of Science and Technology, UDS, they each raised issues with regards to the e-levy, including Professor Ali Nachan. They raised concerns about it. Issa raised concerns about the e-levy. So the opposition to the e-levy was not the opposition of the NDC. It was the opposition of the entirety of the people of this country. What the people of this country should expect from us is that we will do what is needful. And as far as we are concerned, we will not allow the MPP to have their way. So it is our hope that we will get justice at the Supreme Court in this matter, because it was a clear violation of Article 102 of 4 of the 1992 Constitution, a clear violation of the rulings of the Supreme Court itself in the matter of Justice Abdullahi and the Supreme Court, and a clear violation of Standing Order 1091 of Parliament. And that is what we expect, that we will get justice in this matter. This world and this country is not just about e-levy. But you know why? Now, they were blaming COVID for every problem we had in this country. They succeeded when the price of, when COVID was no longer buying, because we exposed them big time. Because we said, if you claim that COVID was the problem, none of the countries within West Africa went to the IMF to borrow $3 billion in the name of COVID. None of them borrowed $450 million from World Bank. None of them got 86 million euro from the European Union. None of them borrowed 20 billion from their central banks. None of them dipped their hands into, infrastructure development fund. In fact, Burkina borrowed only 20 million from the World Bank. We borrowed 450. Yet none of them go through what we are going through. So when we dismantled that argument, and we said, if you tell us that you borrowed those monies for COVID, the Minister for Health and the Minister of Health spent 32 million Ghana cedis of COVID money drinking tea. 32 million. And the Minister for Finance, this man, Keno Furata, he's the biggest danger to the economy of this country. He is asking us to allow him use 54 million Ghana cedis of COVID money to set up a bank. When we dismantled it, they ran to Ukraine. We are praying that there should be a speedy resolution in the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. And trust me, Eric, once the conflict of Ukraine and Russia resolve, the next excuse they will give is that they will tell us the conflict in Ethiopia and Somalia is the cause of our economy.
All right, so
that's what they will tell us.
I told you Murtala Mohammed is the MP for Tamale Central, and sometimes Murtala will go very blunt. I like conversations with him because it sounds very exciting and he speaks to facts. There are times we disagree, but there are critical issues he has raised. I believe that we'll be making time to speak to people on the other side if we are able to get them. It's difficult, and most of the time we are lucky to get a few to speak to us. If we get them, some of these critical issues that, of course, if you fact check, you will know many are true. We'll put it to them to get the responses. The program is Ideas Exchange. My name is Eric Ahianyo, and I've just wrapped up with a member of Parliament for Tamale Central.
You didn't give me my last words.
And you'll be taking your last word. And Murtala, as usual, you couldn't join us to make your calls. I thought I could, but the conversation appears to be very sweet from Murtala, who is a teacher and a talkative. Really? I give you 1 minute, well, not more than that. To wrap up.
What I'll just say is that,
and I want you to look at the camera and speak to either Ghanaians or government or.
Well, first and foremost, I want to congratulate the Black Stars. They made us very proud. I had predicted on one TV station, the videos are available, that I was optimistic by the will of Allah we're going to beat Nigeria, and I said that we needed an early goal. Once we get an early goal, then we defend and play counter. And I think that there couldn't have been any player who scored that goal for the Black Star than my team player, Thomas Partey. You know, I'm a Ghana, I'm an Arsenal fan.
Right.
I also want to say that the abuse of Jordan, particularly in Kumasi, was unacceptable. If you watch the clip very well, it was Jordan who got the ball, 3 players around him, and he controlled it and gave a pass before it was given to Thomas Partey. If he didn't push through, that ball would have gone out. Every player has his day. And I think that it is not fair that when we do this, we need to go as... I mean, this is the only thing that unites us. When it comes to football, we don't have NDC, we don't have NPP. And I know that our friends in Nigeria were so angry. The difficulty of Nigeria is that they can't fathom why Ghana should be beating them. And it's true. We have beaten Nigeria 21 times. They have beaten us only 10 times. And we have played draw about 20 times now. The reason is that we are always the pace setters. We got independence before our brothers. But let me conclude on the we got independence before our brothers. But let me state that in this country, we are just one country that is geared towards ensuring that the living conditions of people are improved upon. And we are getting into the month of Ramadan. Inshallah, next week, if I'm here, I will be here in the month of Ramadan. It is a month that we are all preparing to ask for Allah's forgiveness and spiritual upliftment. We are encouraged that when we are getting into that month, forgive people because you'll be asking for Allah's forgiveness.
All right.
And I want to assure the people of Tamale Central that I know that the sun is scorching. I shall be with them to begin the month.
Thank you. And we are grateful to the MP for Tamale Central. We've just gone about 2 minutes into the next hour. We are grateful. And thanks again. Join us next Wednesday for another edition of Ideas Exchange. But tomorrow, between 1 and 2 p.m., there will be a repeat of this program on this network. Good evening, and thanks to all the production team, Abuaji, Kojo, and the cameramen. Bye for now.